On this episode, we talk with Jesse Davis, the man behind one of Thailand's most subscribed YouTube channels for kids.
So if you want some insight into what it's like building a media empire with your family in Thailand, you'll love this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to start the Church of the Great Moose, but realized that Thailand's prohibitive maple syrup prices would prevent me from holding communion, so I shelved the whole idea.
You got that right.
Yeah.
And I made Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 21 years ago. Fell in love with trying to predict how many days will go by before the Thai government reverses itself on some important policy announcement, so I never left.
It's got to be a board game based around that.
It's virtually guaranteed, so the only question is, is it going to be 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? So that's the fun part. That's the fun part. We want to say a quick thank you to one of our patrons, Zane, I hope I got that right, who supports us at the show shout-out level. Stick around after our interview with the man behind one of Thailand's biggest YouTube kids channels to hear why Zane is very typically Australian. We also want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a whole bunch of cool stuff, including our ad-free regular show a day early, behind-the-scenes photos and videos of our interviews, discounts on swag, access to our Discord server, and various other things that aren't available to regular listeners. But best of all, patrons like Zane also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and random topics. We just finished recording this week's bonus show, and we chatted about the importance of understanding Thai culture via La Lisa's new music video, and even assigned our patrons homework to view it. More updates on Thailand's reopening, and a quick update on the Prime Minister's visit to Nonthaburi province where, let's just say, he didn't get a very warm welcome. To become a patron, head to bangkokpodcast.com/support.
Right on. Okay, well, on this episode, we chat with an old friend of mine from back when we were both working at Agoda by the name of Jesse Davis. Now, even if you don't know Jesse, if you have kids, there's a chance that they know his daughter. And if that sounds weird to you, well, welcome to the world of YouTube, you geezer. Jesse is the man behind Brianna's Secret Club, a YouTube channel for kids that he started with his daughter about 4 years ago as a hobby, and which quickly grew to be one of the most subscribed YouTube channels in Thailand. As of this recording, it has nearly 7 million subscribers, and suffice it to say, Jesse no longer needs to go into an office job. I contacted him recently to discuss how he grew the channel so quickly, the unique challenges of running an online business with his family, and the hoops one has to jump through if they want to make a living through online content in Thailand. So here's my cool discussion with my buddy, Jesse Davis. All right, well, I'm psyched to be sitting down with an old friend of mine, someone I used to work with, but who left for greener pastures. And that is, in fact, why we're here talking, because I want to learn more about these greener pastures. I'm chatting with my buddy, Jesse Davis. Jesse, welcome to the Bangkok Podcast.
Thank you, Greg. Happy to be here. Long-time listener and first-time guest.
Well, it's been at least a couple of years, 3-4 years since we saw each other in person, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy. Although I think there was that one time where I ran into you and your kid at the gymnasium.
Oh, yeah. Right, of course. Yeah, you have those happy accidents in Bangkok, but nothing ever seems to get planned with people you actually want to hang out with.
I know. I've been so busy. I've just missed so many friends that I'd love to hang out with.
Yeah. So I think that there's a little bit of background is in order here because you're not really a famous guy, but you are involved with somewhat of a famous situation. So Jesse and I used to work together at Agoda way back in the day.
Yep.
And one day Jesse was like, "Hey, I'm going to start up this YouTube channel with my daughter Brianna." and your daughter Brianna has some acting experience. She's half Thai, half American, and we were like, great, yeah, good hobby, have fun with that. And about 6 months later, you're like, I don't think I need to work here anymore. This channel is becoming really quite successful, and I'm out. And you got out of there, and now you're basically a genuine YouTube media mogul. It's been a hell of a journey, and that's what I wanted to talk about, because we often get emails from listeners around the world who come to Thailand or want to come to Thailand, and they want to set up a YouTube channel, or they want to be a vlogger, or they want to be a professional travel journalist, writer, video maker, Instagram influencer, what have you.
Sure.
Some of our listeners already do that, but you've had some outstanding success with your effort, and that's what I want to talk about. So first, can you just walk us through like what kind of channels you have and who they appeal to and what they do?
Sure. So my first channel is Brianna's Secret Club, which started off as a young kids channel, but has sort of morphed into sort of an all ages general family entertainment channel. I think currently we're around 6.5 million subscribers. I've also got Skylar TV, which is a channel for my son. That's around 1.5 million subscribers, and that kind of focuses on young boys and young kid activities. I also have Brianna and the Gang, which is a teen channel. It's my daughter and her cousin and sometimes friends. They do challenges and things like that. And then we have Drama Stories, which is more of adult Lakorn San, or short stories, Thai dramas, that kind of thing, usually with a positive moral lesson at the end. And those have been killing it on Facebook recently. Like, I think we've had a couple months where we were like 100 million views just
crap.
on Facebook. Yeah. So even though our channels aren't that big on Facebook, we've released a lot of things under Brianna's Secret Club and some other labels. But yeah, we've been just killing it on that. So we've been so busy that we've been like opening new studio, and hiring a lot of actors to come in. So it's really kind of turned from like a mom and pop YouTube channel into like a full media company. So it's exciting.
Right. That's awesome, man. So literally it went from like a hobby you did in your spare time to like your family's full-time, like family business.
Absolutely. It's extremely full-time all the time. I don't think I've worked this hard in my life for any company I worked for.
Isn't that always the damn thing, right? Your hobby makes you work harder than you ever did, right? Than any job ever did.
Yeah. I always heard that there's a saying that entrepreneurs are people that are willing to work 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40.
That's a good one. Now, I've thought about starting my own YouTube channel sometimes, maybe I'll do videos about this, or maybe me and my son will do videos about this. And I have a film background. I know how much work it is to shoot and edit. And as soon as I sort of think about what's involved, I was like, the hell with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And it's not sort of, if you build it, they will come, right? I want to talk about how you grew to that number of viewers, because there's a lot of work that goes into the back end, right? I don't think people are clueless about it, but I still think that people sort of underestimate how much work you need to do to make sure people see your stuff. You can't just come to Thailand and say like, I'm going to be a YouTube guy, and you start filming beaches and food and stuff like that. So can you talk us like what your strategies were about building your audience and sort of mangling with the back end code and all that stuff?
Sure. So to back up a little bit, I actually, before Agoda, I had an app company, and we used to build small apps and games. And the sort of idea was quantity over quality. And, when you're releasing 30 apps per month on the App Store, the only way you can get those discovered is through like organic methods, through SEO, and like trying to get into search and discovery. So that was sort of our mindset coming out of the app industry. And we sort of applied a lot of those strategies to YouTube, and it worked really well. And where the app industry doesn't want you flooding the market with low quality apps, YouTube loves you to upload videos every day. So that format worked a lot better. And, we had that production pipeline mentality that I think really fed in well to doing YouTube. I think, I've spent a lot of time thinking about like, why were we successful when so many other creators weren't? And I think a lot of it comes down to just straight up attitude. That once we made the decision to do YouTube, we sat down and it was like all hands on deck, and we said, this is it. We are going to do this. We're going to do this hard. It won't be forever, but we're going to work our butts off at least for a season and launch this thing. And we're going to test the limits of YouTube's algorithm and exactly what it's going to take to break a video. And so early on with YouTube, it's not so much a quality game, it's a quantity game. It's putting out enough videos to help you improve quickly, to get more data points, to learn about your audience, and to just learn and evolve. So it's not just blasting a ton of videos. It's like shooting a video out, learning, and then rapid succession, that process over and over again, releasing, learning, releasing, learning, releasing, learning. And if you're doing, when we launched, we were doing 2 to 3 videos a day. So it was a tremendous amount of work. Now, these were short clips. They were only like 3 to 5 minutes. There wasn't a whole lot of editing. They were pretty basic, but we just came up with any idea, and just did everything and just shot it out there. And I think that I've seen that strategy over and over again, that building for speed initially is a really strong strategy, because you don't know what you're doing. But if you move fast, you're going to learn fast. So I think that's a good strategy to take. Some people do it differently, but that worked for us.
Right. And so what you're saying is, like, you can't release a video today and then release the exact same style of video the next day and not make any changes to how you work it. Like, you've got to release another video and then maybe tweak how you use keywords or SEO or something like that. So it's like constant fractional iterations of improvement.
Yeah. And it comes from an attitude of, I took the attitude that I suck. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't have a video degree. I didn't go to have mass communications. I didn't go to film school. I knew nothing about this stuff. So I took like a really humble attitude and just be like, hey man, I suck. And every week I'm like, okay, what can I do to improve my videos? Can I change the sound? Can I change the video? Hey, this is working. We like this style. We just have this like little family meeting every Monday morning, and Sunday, I forget when we did it, but we would just keep trying to like figure out how can we make this just a little bit better for the next video or the next week. And just that really intense learning process and trying to improve yourself. I think that's it. So attitude is huge. I think the big stopping point to a lot of people is they roll in thinking, I'm awesome. My stuff's awesome. And as soon as you say you're awesome, you're not going to improve. You basically take an improvement off the table. You're like, well, I don't need to improve. So I think taking a humble attitude and really learning that you have a lot to learn is the key to sort of getting traction right off the bat.
So I should have asked this at the beginning, but Brianna's Secret Club is in Thai.
We started in 2 languages, and I don't know if you were there that breakfast morning, but I think initially I started for the first couple of weeks in English, and we were sitting down at breakfast one morning, and it might have been before you joined the team.
This was at Agoda?
Yeah.
No, I always got in after you guys had breakfast.
Okay, yeah, that's right, you did. But our boss at the time said, hey, you know what? Your daughter's done a lot of acting and modeling stuff in Thailand. I think there might be a good opportunity in Thai. And I really took that to heart. And I was like, hey, you know what? I think he's right. And I started doing content in Thai. And like, my Thai's terrible. But my daughter, she was helping me. And eventually my wife saw how bad my Thai was and kind of stepped in to help kind of coach her. And she did a really great job. And I think that combination of my wife sort of being this coach director and me handling the technical stuff was just a great combo. And then we quickly improved. And then, we had both channels, and the Thai one started off really slow, but it quickly improved. And then we had a hit video on the Thai channel, and it was like 80,000 views in a week. And for us, that was like huge. And we were monetized right away. So we're like, wow, we're actually making money. And this is crazy. And so then we started really taking it seriously. And I think right within the month, we had 3,000 subscribers. And then within 5 months, we had 100,000. And then by the end of the first year, we had 1 million subscribers. And it was just a phenomenon. We just like, took the market unaware.
Damn.
Yes, it was nuts.
So now your wife has a background in computer science too, is that right?
Yeah, so she graduated from Thammasat University. She's Thai, and she has basically a computer science degree. You're correct.
Yeah.
And she's just technical enough, and she has just enough background in photography where she can work the camera, so we can both work the camera. So we'll hand the camera back and forth, depending on who needs to use it. But yeah, at first we just filmed with iPhones, so it wasn't like we were pros. We just had a iPhone 7 and 2 LED light panels, and at our breakfast tables, and that was where we set up.
Yeah, I remember back in the day running over to MBK with you at lunch, being like, "Oh, I got to find a little plug-in thing because my adapter's broken or something."
Yeah.
Just sort of like
Yeah,
duct taping your way along.
yeah. I remember doing a couple of those runs. That was fun.
So, is there any like Thai specific like SEO or back-end stuff that your wife works on that like us foreigners wouldn't be able to get an insight into?
Back end stuff, not so much. So things have changed with YouTube a little bit in the fact that their AI and like their what they call Google Brain has just gotten so advanced where like even YouTube's like, yeah, you don't need to bother with keywords anymore. Like it literally just strips your video of like it mines all the audio in the video in your video and basically just builds its own keywords.
Oh wow!
So it can just analyze your video. So yeah, like you can do title and description, but I tell people, hey, don't get caught up in trying to hack the system. Make good content that engages with real people. It's all because that's what the algorithm does. It sees real engagement and then it promotes. It's just a mirror that reflects human behavior. So once you understand that about YouTube, the trick to YouTube is really just trying to get people to really engage and watch your content. When YouTube sees that, they're like, okay, let's recommend this to more people. And if that works, it keeps going and finding new audiences. That's how your videos go viral. Like a lot of people think that you need to promote, you need to hand out flyers, you need to put stuff on Facebook, and none of that works. I mean, it might work a little tiny bit. You might get a view or two, but real viewership comes from YouTube finding the people that you need and recommending your video. So everything you need is just right there in YouTube.
Right. So basically people can't sit at their underwear late at night at their little desktop computer in their living room thinking they're going to like out hack a couple of hundred engineers at Google who are making $1 million a year.
Yeah.
Who built the underlying infrastructure for how the system works.
Yeah, there's little tips and tricks, but I think overall, I just tell people, hey, just make really great content, find your audience, and figure out who they are. And that's what we did. We found we started with a simple premise, and that was that we were going after trying to get the audience of young Thai girls aged 6 to 10. So once we kind of had that audience in mind, we're like, okay, what do these girls like? And we studied them. We asked them questions. We came up with a list of all the ideas that we thought was popular. We watched other Thai YouTube channels, and we did some reconnaissance and figured out that, hey, we think that they might like these types of channels. And we started with 14 ideas, and we cut the 7 that weren't working. And then we kept 7 different concepts and different types of segments and went forward with it. That was a real simple way of doing it.
So these are things like, like unboxing toys, and there's one cool video where you guys built a 7-Eleven out of cardboard, and like it was like a little
that was an
mini
epic
7-Eleven. Yeah, and you you do videos outside, swimming in the swimming pool and playing games and stuff like that.
Yep.
So that's the kind of content that you guys do. Now, speaking of sort of making content that appeals to an audience, I don't think I'm going to surprise anyone when I say the content sort of directed at a Thai audience, let alone a young Thai audience, is full of boings and doinks and stuff like that, which your videos have a lot of.
Yep.
Now you shoot and edit all that. Does that ever get into your head? Because it's hard for me to watch.
That's a great question. So I'm from the school where there needs to be a reason for a sound effect. If somebody gets smacked in the head, okay, a smack is warranted. If somebody drops a ball, a boing is warranted. Like it needs to match with the action. So when I edited and you'll see this in the original ones, like every time you see a sound effect, there's a good reason for it. But that's not how the Thais edit.
No.
And like sometimes just like, why is there a slide whistle? Why is there a boing? Like there's
Right.
nothing happening, just trying to like fill space and make it funny. But we have Thai editors that are very good at that. So within a few months, I guess of us really taking off, we hired an editor. She was really good, and she knew how to do all that. So right now
Okay.
I'm like hands off. If I
Nice.
edit, you're not going to get all the sound effects.
Right, right. My favorite is when someone is like walking down the street and they use music from like Back to the Future or Die Hard or something. You're like, what's happening here? I expect an explosion, but the dude's catching a bus.
Yeah, they throw some stuff in, but like we kind of do that ahead of time. That's kind of like the Thai style of comedy editing, and we said, okay, well, we think there needs to be a bunch of slide whistles and spring noises, in here. So literally, I just have a library full of those wacky sound effects.
So your kids, let's talk about kids now. So like how have they reacted to the whole thing? Because this is it's a shitload of work and it takes a lot of time. I think I mentioned it on the podcast before. People will be really surprised how much planning goes into making a simple video and how long it takes to make it work, like get it all done to the end. You've got to think about the idea, you've got to get the right film, you got to get the right equipment, you've got to film it
Yeah.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, however many takes you need, and then you have to transfer it to a computer and edit it and fiddle with sound and output it and upload it. Like it's a huge process. So how have your kids reacted to this? Do they see it as a job, or is it just like another thing that dad
Yeah,
does, or what?
kind of. Yeah, they sort of see it as a job. I mean, they know it's work for them, they get it, and there's reward too. So just like you go to work, right? Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it sucks, but you get your paycheck and you're like, you make the decision that, hey, that was worth it. And they kind of treat it the same way. So when we first started the channel, I sat down at the table with my daughter Brianna, and I said, okay, we're not just going to treat this like just some random fun activity. We're going to take this seriously like a business. You and I are business partners. And she's been in acting and modeling. She's done lots of commercial work for, brands like SCG, Oreo, Nintendo, all sorts of commercials. So she's been in the industry. So when I say to her, this is going to be a lot of work in filming, she understands what that meant, even at 8 years old. And we said, hey, this is going to be for your future. It's going to be a lot of work. It may not always be a lot of work. We might be able to scale it back at some point, but we're going to have to push hard. So I think we set the expectations. Now, Skylar, my son, was so little at that point. He was just like, wee, it's fun. But I think once we started filming, she got it. She got the true meaning of how much work it was. I think one weekend we filmed like 22 episodes and had 6 of them edited in the can before Monday.
Oh my God.
But now keep in mind, when the kids are doing this, the way we're having it structured is not like a kid sitting in the room with their phone and trying to do this whole thing themselves, like a lot of people think that kids are doing. This is like more like a full production where the kids are just playing the acting role.
They're the talent.
They're the talent. Mommy and daddy are doing all the behind the scenes work. We are doing the research, the writing. We're organizing props, finding cool things and activities for them to do, setting everything up. Sometimes there'll be assistants to come in to help clean and do whatever. Basically, they just stay there for the episode, if it's an hour or two of filming, and then they leave and go off and have fun. And then mommy and I are uploading, doing back end, descriptions, data, thumbnails, scheduling releases, all that stuff. So there's so much work that goes on. The kids only need to be present for that actual filming part.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, I know I have to ask this, and I want to get your input too, because this is something that I thought about back in the day when my son was younger, and I was like, maybe I should do some sort of like daddy father thing or something like that. And I know this issue has come up before on forums that deal with these kind of projects and things like that. But do you ever worry that you might be perceived as like exploiting your kids?
Yeah. So this is like, when you start this stuff, there's always something in the back of your mind. Maybe it's the devil on your shoulder saying like, hey, is this good? What are you doing? Like, you're being bad. Like, and I think it's this thing, and maybe this being from me as an American, that we've seen all sorts of news articles. We've seen toddlers and tiaras. And all of
Ugh.
these shows make the parents to be these absolute villains. And in no way is it ever a positive experience for the kid.
Right. That's not good TV, right? Like, who's going to watch a show like here's a young woman who's pushing her daughter to win this contest, and their relationship has blossomed. Like, no one wants to watch that.
Right. So I think a lot of that comes from people's I don't want to say prejudice, but like preconceived notion of what's going on in the regards to entertainment with children, money, all that stuff. They hear money plus kids equals evil. And I try to step back and look at it as like, hey, is this good for my kid? Is this good for my family? And when we started, I had been through some financial hardships. I was at Agoda with you, and I was making an okay living. My daughter was on a scholarship, thankfully, at the time, so she was going to a better school than I could afford, and that was going to be up in a couple of years. My son didn't have a full ride. Like, I was actually like back against the wall as far as like trying to get education for my kids. And so one of the things that YouTube allowed me to do was to actually have like an education fund for my children. And now they go to a school that there's no way I could have afforded before. So instantly, they've got a better education. Also, extracurricular activities, money is never a problem. They can do that. They get all sorts of bonus perks from the YouTube channel, as far as like they were given motorcycles, electric motorcycles. They've been sent on amazing exotic vacations to several countries, plus, lots of cool places in Thailand. My daughter was taken behind the scenes to Disney on Ice, where she got to interview the skaters. She's had these amazing experiences. She just got to go feed the baby hippo, the only baby hippo walrus, the baby walrus in Thailand. She got to go up and feed the baby, and that's like, nobody gets to do that. Even if you have money, nobody gets to do those things and have those experiences. So she's had such an amazing wealth of experiences. And, when we see her in school, the teachers come up to me and said, I've never seen a kid with this level of work ethic. Her projects are amazing. She's doing the work of like 5 kids. And, she's running for student body president. She's really like stepped up her game. So I see that it's taught her some incredible maturity. There's some downsides too, and but as far as the money goes, we always make sure that the kids are, being appropriately taken care of. They both have, good sized savings accounts. And they have no foreseeable wants in the future. Their education's pretty much taken care of through college. So
I know you, and I know you too. And I don't think I'm sure you balance that with healthy doses of reality and, like you said, work ethic and responsibility and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. I think for me, the bigger issue, people are always focused on money. Like, are you taking the kids' money? And I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue more of is how do the kids manage it with their mental health? Because it's a tremendous amount of pressure. And that's something that we've always prioritized, because we knew, hey, this is the elephant in the room. You don't talk about this stuff. It comes out later in therapy, when they're 30. And I love my daughter. I told her, hey, I'm doing this for you. I don't want you to be scarred from any, this working and stuff. So like every month, we sat down with her and said, hey, how's things going? Like, is there anything we can do? Are you okay with all this? Is there anything getting too much? And sometimes she would say, yeah, we've been filming a lot. It'd be nice if I could have Sundays off, or we could reel it back in, and then we adjust the schedule. In fact, she said something similar recently, saying like, hey, Dad, I'm really proud of everything we've done. And I love doing the channel. I don't want to stop, but I also don't want to burn away the rest of my childhood. I want to have some time to be a kid. And so we are like, done. We're going to scale back, and we did. We dramatically scaled back production. down to only like 1 or 2 days a week shooting. So we've all been flexible and trying to make everything work, for the benefit of the kids. But, I really want to do right by them. I love my kids. And the last thing I want to see is anybody take advantage of them.
Right. Cool. That's good, man. And I mean, I think the first step in all that is recognizing that it needs to be addressed, which you've obviously done. And it's trippy because I remember I came and saw you at Brianna's birthday. This was about 5 years ago now, something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was at these like one of these little playground areas where we had a private birthday room and stuff like that. We had a big glass window, and there were other kids at the playground, literally with their noses pressed up at the window, like that's Brianna. That must be weird, man.
Yeah. So that's another issue. And that's been, if you talk about negatives, that's been kind of more of a negative than a positive. Some people relish that type of attention. My daughter is not one of them. She's, if anything, kind of socially awkward, and she doesn't seek attention. She's kind of like very humble, very down to earth. But we've worked with her, be like, hey, these guys, we appreciate. They're the reason why you have a nice room, and they're the reason why we continue to be able to do what we do. And we always want to treat them with respect. So the kids have gotten very good. They know that, like, if anybody ever asks for a photo, bam, we're right there. We give them little trinkets, some of our products and things like that. And we love our fans, but sometimes things can get out of control. We've had a few situations, like with security, especially doing like events in the middle of a mall where there's just not really crowd control and people are just swarming all around. And
it's scary.
Oh yeah. We had this one where she was doing this like stage presentation for a major toy company. And when she was finished, she like went through the stage and kind of went out to the back, and she was just supposed to sit on the side of the stage. And it was like 50 people just rushed that area, and they had to like pull her into the back of the stage. Like, there's been moments like that.
That's when your dad Hulk reflex kicks in. You just leap into the crowd. It's go time.
No hawk fists were thrown that day. Right. I will say that, like, now we're a lot more aware of those type of situations, but it's been a while since it's happened, with the whole COVID situation. Everybody's wearing masks. Nobody's doing live events. So it hasn't been like that for a while.
Well, man, if you ever want to, ever need to whip out the trump card of bringing her back down to earth, kids are super fickle. And I've showed my son a couple of times, like, hey, let's look at this YouTube channel. That's my friend's daughter. Isn't that cool? He is not interested at all in Brianna's Secret Club or Skylar TV. He would rather watch guys play Minecraft and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's my son. But you know what? Hey, I mean, that's a good lesson in and of itself, right? Like, whatever you do, not everybody's going to love you for it.
Totally.
And we're all okay with that, like, hey, like, it's almost consistent that like 10 to 20% of like all of our likes or dislikes are dislikes, So, there's obviously a lot of people clicking dislike on our video. Maybe they click off by mistake. I don't know. But, it just doesn't get to me because I think, look at all the people that do like us, we celebrate them.
You can't dwell on that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up here, let's get back to the technical side of things. Do you live in, I think a lot of people might live in fear that Google one day is going to like change a slash or a ampersand in some code somewhere, and it's going to completely screw the business model that you've built. Like, you get demonetized, or you have to abide by these very strict and sometimes vague rules. What's your relationship like with Google and YouTube?
So they do know us. We do have a partner manager, although I don't always get to talk to her. But I think the thing with having your content on somebody else's platform means they control the rules, and that's for anybody. Mostly on social media, right? You have your stuff on Facebook. Facebook can shut you down. You have your stuff on Twitter. Twitter can shut you down. Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of thing, and we learned that lesson hard when we were doing stuff on the App Store, and Apple changed the algorithm, and all of a sudden, a lot of our apps started tanking, and a lot of our customers started tanking, and it just sank our business. nobody was getting app downloads anymore. And so that was a real hard lesson that like, hey, this stuff can change and it will change and you got to be ready for it. So it's part of the reason why we have more than one channel. And it's so funny because sometimes, the algorithm changes, they flip that switch and one channel will like skyrocket and just go to the moon and the other two channels will tank.
Oh, geez.
And so it's nice having that balance because you're like, oh, this sucks, but hey, that's cool. And it all, having a variety of channels, it does help it balance out. And, we try to have a few financial pillars, and now we have Facebook and YouTube both bringing in revenue and views. And I think we have 800,000 on TikTok. So we're on that platform as well. So we just try to, spread out our base, try to work across multiple platforms, be as smart as possible, be ahead of changes, and adjust. I know early 2020, there was the COPPA law that passed from the US FTC. Now, I know not everybody's from the US. We're not in the US, but those children protection laws still like had ripples through YouTube and through the internet as far as child privacy. Now, we're not getting out any information, but when Google runs ads against children's videos, they are using information to run those ads, targeted ads. And so all of a sudden, kids' videos started getting like 80% less revenue.
Oh, geez.
And then started getting not recommended anymore. And it just literally sank some kid creators. But I think we were big enough and switched a lot of our video types. So that was a good example of when we were like, hey, let's start aging up our content a little bit. Bree's almost a teen now. There's some content we can do that's not for kids. And we started spreading our content out a little bit that way. And that was a smart move. And that's where the whole adult drama came from, because we tried doing adult dramas and they worked really well. It was a happy accident, right?
That's really cool. Well, man, it sounds like you've done everything right, obviously, in terms of the technical side of things you have. And it sounds like your kids are handling it well. And I know you to be a responsible, caring dad too. So it seems like you got a really good family business going. But I think what we want to reiterate is that, a lot of people, especially as Thailand now starts to hopefully reopen and, COVID fades into hopefully the background, people will be coming to Thailand and looking to start these new little businesses, but it is a ton of work and you need to be ready for that.
Yeah. YouTube benefits from that kind of all-in mentality. And you need to be prepared to really put in a lot of time. I would say if you're just going to like spare like 1 to 2 hours a week, just sort of phone in some content, do whatever's easy. Everybody on the YouTube is doing easy content,
right?
Like, oh, I'm just going to play Minecraft for 2 hours and just upload that footage. Well, that's
probably what my
easy
son
content. No, actually, I know some Minecraft YouTubers and they can put a tremendous amount of time and effort into planning, scripting, figuring out, editing. Like, the new trend of Minecraft is like 100 hours in hardcore survival mode or 100 days in hardcore survival mode. And it takes, my friend said, 34 hours of actual playtime just to get the footage to actually do that video, not including editing and stuff. So sometimes what that easy content that your kid likes is probably really hard to produce.
My son loves this dude named Jelly on YouTube. And, I've sort of checked, this kid has an online store and stuff like that. He's not a kid. He's probably his mid-20s. He's probably a multi-billionaire by now. Like, and it reminds me of that meme where it's like a picture of a clown in front of a mirror putting on makeup. And the caption is me getting ready to go to work when some 15-year-old kid made $4 million last year reviewing toys or something. So it's a different world, man. And I'm glad you're thriving. So we'll put links to all your channels in our show notes. They're not for anyone, everyone, as my son can attest. And I'm not going to be watching a lot of, boing videos, but
yeah.
you seem to have definitely settled on your audience and you're giving them what they want, which is what it's all about.
Yeah. You probably won't like it if you're listening to this podcast, but if you have young Thai kids and they like to watch the sound effects with boing and then send them our way.
Yeah.
We'll happily entertain them.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's great to sit down with you, even virtually, and talk. We're recording this online right now, obviously.
Yeah. I know
But,
we could talk for forever as we used to do
well,
when we were working together.
When all this dies down, let's do this again over beer, IRL.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm definitely up for that. I'll be coming back in January, hopefully, quarantine permitting.
Yeah, you're in Thailand now, but you're off on a big family vacation for the next little while.
Yep. Yeah. So we're gonna be traveling overseas for a little bit, but back and forth. We have a house here, so I won't be far.
Cool, man. Well, take it easy, brother, and thanks again. And everyone check out the channels, or rather, get your kids to check out the channels.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah. Talk to you, man.
Yeah. See ya.
Dude, I got to say, I learned a lot from that interview. Obviously, I think our interviews are interesting. That's why we do them. But to me, this was surprising. It's like an unbelievable story.
Yeah, and it's something I think over our years here we've both met so many people who want to come here and they have an idea. I'm going to make travel videos, or I'm going to do videos about Thai food and
digital nomad type stuff, right?
Yeah, and I always think that doing this kind of stuff is like being an actor. Like a few people will be fabulously successful at it, make it look like an awesome thing, but the vast majority are just getting by.
Unfortunately, right? Yes, true that.
But Jesse's story is really good. Just really hard work, quality content, and persistence played a big role in it. Of course, having the right content, the right type of content, and identifying a hole in the market, or a place that was maybe lacking the right type of content, and you could jump in there and make it. But
right.
He's worked real hard, and
oh, for sure. No, I mean, obviously he's done a great job. And I'm glad you've covered this issue of how to present your children on social media, because I think it's such a sensitive topic. And I know there's people who they won't even put pictures of their kids on Facebook or Instagram, and then other people have entire, in this case, businesses around their kids. And the bottom line is, I don't think there's an absolute or general rule. There's kind of a right way and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah, it's like raising a kid, right? There's there's no one way that's like you have to do this and this absolutely won't work. I mean, within reason. But I did bring it up with him, obviously, and I asked him that, and I really liked his answer. It's just what it came down to me was basically just being totally honest with your kid. And as a father, I'm a big believer in that. Just don't bullshit your kids. Kids can sniff it out. And if they ask a question, give them an answer. Answer honestly.
Sure.
And tell them if you don't know something, tell them you don't know. They're surprisingly willing and able to handle sort of more grown-up topics than you might think, and just, work on stuff with them and bring them along for the journey. And you're probably all going to have a really great time, which is exactly what he's doing.
Sure. More power to him. I wonder if, his daughter will have some kind of future in, I don't know, performance or acting, or if she'll be some kind of celebrity, because she's already a celebrity now.
Yeah, it is. And that's the modern world, right? Like, everyone has a phone, and technically that's all you need to become famous. You just need to make videos. Right?
Well, I apparently need more than that. But
there's a bit more that goes into it than just filming a selfie video of myself walking through Chinatown. I'm not going to get La Lisa numbers of that, but it's not easy. It's really hard work. And like I said, Jesse and I used to work together, and he quickly realized that making daily videos was a full-time job. And you can't have a full-time job and then just start another full-time job. Right. So he had to choose, and I guess he chose right, because it's doing really well. I just checked tonight, actually, and I think it's the 32nd most biggest YouTube channel in Thailand, which is pretty good.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I think the Bangkok podcast on YouTube, I think we're up near about 400 followers. So watch out, Jesse. We're coming for you.
That's right. Watch out, La Lisa. We're coming.
That's right. But Jesse, thanks, man. It was good to sit down and talk, and continued success. I will say I am not envious of Jesse when he has to deal with all of the boing and sound effects and graphics that go with making a show aimed at Thai kids. But hey, man, pays the bills.
For sure, for sure.
All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we then discuss and decide if it's something we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. Now, last time I asked Ed what he thought about Petbury Road, so this week it's Ed's turn to ask me something.
All right, Mr. Greg, let me paint a picture for you. You're engaged in a professional, or let's say semi-professional conversation online.
All
so it could be by email, but I'm envisioning more like some type of messaging app, right?
I'm down, yeah. I got several of those.
Yeah, but we're talking about a professional setting, business, so it's not private with your buddies kind of thing, right? And the person, let's just assume it's easier to assume that it's a Thai woman, okay? And she responds with a silly GIF or GIF, depending on how you pronounce it.
There's only one way to pronounce it.
A cutesy smiley GIF. You understand? You with me? You understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, now this is interesting because we have recently, I think a recent Love, Loathe, or Live With was a similar thing about when someone responds to a long comment with a sticker online.
That's right. Yeah.
But I will draw a line between line and a GIF. I think GIFs they've sort of become internet shorthand. And, I saw a meme online, memes and GIFs. I saw a meme online the other day and it was funny, but it was so true. And it said there was a picture of someone's face going like, ugh. And it was the caption was like, me when I share a meme with someone and they don't get it. And then I have to explain the past 8 years of internet culture for them to get this one GIF.
Right.
Because there's a lot wrapped up in the right GIF, the right meme can carry a lot of weight.
Well, I'm not anti-GIF at all, but I guess my focus is more on the kind of cutesy. Okay, this has been a podcast topic before. You've talked before about walking through a Thai office with 30 or 40 some aged Thai women, and they have stuffed animals on their desks.
Yeah, they walk around holding, clutching onto like a stuffed unicorn or something.
That's right.
What's wrong with you?
So no, what I'm saying, I've encountered the same thing in the world of GIFs, where you're having a professional conversation and then they send back like a smiling like emoji thing, like exploding. Yes, I'll do that. Like this silly. It's like you're having a business conversation or in a professional setting, and it's just some childish like. Totally goofy, silly.
All right,
you see what I mean?
I think this is actually quite deeper than I think. Not either of us thought it would be, but I think there's a lot of shades of gray here. It depends on the tone of the conversation, the topic of the conversation, the nature of the relationship you're talking to, the type of GIF they send, whether it's funny, whether it's inappropriate, whether it's stupid. So man, this is a hard one. I'm gonna say love / live with, depending on the context.
I'm not a fan. Again, it's hard to, this actually ties into just the broader issue of the cuteness of Thai culture. And like, it is endearing, but sometimes like in a professional setting, when you're trying to be serious and then the person responds in a certain way that is just, it's just kind of, it is 13-year-old girlish,
Right.
It's like this girlish thing, and you like, I fear that they don't understand the significance of what we're talking about.
So your message is like, this lawsuit isn't looking good. I think we're really going to be dinged on this one. And they said, okay. And then like, a kitten sliding down a rainbow or something.
That's right.
That's not right.
Yeah, you got me. I mean, it's endearing. I'm all for, I like this. I love the, in general, lighthearted nature of Thai culture. Like, Thai people definitely don't take things too seriously. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. But then sometimes they seem to not appreciate the gravity of a situation.
Not take things seriously enough.
Right, right. So yeah, I guess I'll go live with, but I kind of lean towards loathe. And
All right.
you know,
That's
that's
a good one.
just who I am. But you're a more lighthearted guy than I am. So maybe that fits.
I am gregarious.
You are, no doubt about that. Okay, so as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, we'd like to say thank you to Zane Castley for lending us her support at the show shoutout level. And Greg, what did you find out about Zane?
Well, we found out that Zane is very typically Australian, very laid back and chilled out, which is good for us because we've probably butchered her name several times in the course of this show.
Apologies if I've mispronounced your name.
Many apologies. Yeah, we did. We even looked online for like name histories and stuff, and I think it's a German name transplanted to Australia. So I don't know, but Zani says she doesn't want a big shout out. No big deal there. But I will say she did give me some advice about traveling with children because she said she took her 2 kids on a weeks-long vacation around Thailand. And she said she really loved Bangkok. But coming to Bangkok after living in a straw hut on a little island was a huge culture shock for her family.
Oh, wow. Sure. Yeah.
And I said, I asked her for advice on traveling with kids because as we start to be able to travel again, I'd like to take my kid traveling. And I told her, I said, he's not so much for the walking, especially if he can avoid it by sitting on the sofa watching the iPad. And she just said, bribe them with ice cream. I think that's a good idea.
Ah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah. But many thanks, Zane. With apologies for butchering your name. Many thanks for your support and look forward to a postcard on your birthday, as do all of our shout out patrons.
For sure. Thank you very much. Yeah, a final thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping support the show. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Totes my goats. You can also listen to each episode on YouTube, send us a voicemail online that we'll feature on the show, or even reach out to me directly on Twitter or Insta, where I am BKK Greg. So thanks for listening, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you back here next week.
For sure.
God, my wife brought home a suspiciously fat cookie that was stuffed, a chocolate chip cookie stuffed with carrot cake icing. And I knew it was a bad idea, man. I knew it. I'm
so you went for
so
it.
Tired. I did it, and I'm like, oh my God, this much sugar, and I just feel that basically negates my last 9 visits to the gym.
That's about right.